all over a newspaper because his fingers are so sensitive. Like with Braille, he could actually feel the newsprint on the paper. And he'd be the world's greatest gymnast because you get your balance from your ear. So I loved Daredevil. He became very popular.
I was a little afraid after I did Daredevil. I thought maybe blind people would object, but I got a lot of mail from charities like the Lighthouse for the Blind and Seeing Eye, and they said we read those stories to our people and they love them, and that made me feel so good.
You know, I had a character called Dr. Strange, who was a magician, master of the mystic arts.
Again, in trying to be realistic, not only is he a magician and he wears a cape and he has a mustache, because all dramatic people have to have mustaches, but he decided he'd live in Greenwich Village. And he occasionally walks down the street and he has to watch out about being mugged. And again, it's the juxtaposition of the supernatural with the very mundane, everyday type of existence, you see. Anyway, one of the things about Dr. Strange, he visits other dimensions and he can bring his ectoplasmic self out of his physical body. But he also, as all good magicians must, utters incantations and chants, you see.
Instead of saying abracadabra, like any magician, say, by the hoary hosts of Haga, or by the shades of the shadowy seraphim. I don't know what the hell any of that meant, but it sounded good, I thought.
Many times when I would lecture at college, kids would get up and they'd say, "Hey, Stan, we've been doing a lot of research about these incantations that Dr. Strange mumbles, and we have found that they were influenced by ancient Druid writings." Now, come on, fess up. You stole that from the ancient Druids, didn't you?
Did you?
Well, I know about as much about Druidry as I do about brain surgery, you know? I made the expressions up,
yes.
But it made me realize how the readers take these things seriously, and they will look for hidden meanings, and they will look for things that you don't even know are there. It's also very gratifying because it gives you the feeling that however nutty the work you're doing may be, the reader is finding some element of realism and sincerity in it.
I wanted to do another group of superheroes. But I was getting tired now of figuring out how they get their superpowers. I couldn't have everybody bitten by a radioactive spider or exposed to a gamma ray explosion. And I took the cowardly way out. I said to myself, why don't I just say they're mutants? They were born that way. We all know there are mutants in real life. There's a frog with 5 legs, things like that. So I won't have to think of new excuses. I'll get as many as I want, and yeah, he's a mutant, that's all. So, okay. I had the idea, and I made up some characters that I loved, and I went to my boss, Martin. He was still publishing at the time. I wanted to call them the mutants, and the publisher said, no, you can't call them the mutants, because nobody knows what a mutant is. Well, I didn't really agree, but he was the publisher. So I tried to think of another name, and I figured, well, mutants have extra power. So we call them the X-Men. And I said to him, how about calling them the X-Men? He said, yeah, that makes sense. And I figured out, who's going to know what an X-Man is, you know? But this is why I'm not a businessman. One of the themes is, it's an anti-bigotry theme. We shouldn't hate people just because they're different. Because our heroes of the X-Men are all different. Different from average humans, and because they're that different, the general public hates them, hounds them, harasses them, fears them. And again, when I used to do a lot of college lecturing, so many of the students would get up and say, we feel that the anti-drug story episode, in fact, I did one with Spider-Man and almost got in trouble. It was a funny thing. It was an anti-drug story, but I mentioned drugs. And at that time, the Comic Book Association, which was a censorship group, they said, you can't use that story because you mentioned drugs. I said, but it's an anti-drug story. So life can be very complicated. The serious themes that I would occasionally inject were for another reason. I began to realize, judging by the fan mail that we received, I began to realize that our books had quite an influence on the readers. And I kind of took that seriously. I felt if these people are reading my words and the words of the other writers working for Marvel, I felt we've got to be careful and we've got to make sure that we're not giving them the wrong messages. So I don't like to preach. I hate people to preach to me, and I don't like to preach to other people. But at the same time, I feel that there are kind of universal truths that nobody could quibble with. Like, to me, the most important mantra in the world is do unto others what you'd have them do unto you. I mean, I don't see how anybody could take issue with that, and I try to follow that, and I think if everybody followed it, this would be the world would be paradise. If you'd never treat anybody the way you didn't want to be treated. So that's about as far as I get into religion. Just, I was opposed to bigotry, as opposed to cruelty, I was opposed to demeaning women or other sexes or other races or colors or creeds. So I would try occasionally to bring those themes into the book. Now, very often I'd get fan mail from people. What is your religion? What do you think of Christianity as opposed to Judaism, as opposed to Buddhism? Never got into that because I didn't feel it was our place to get into that sort of thing. And I would answer them, but I never answered the question specifically. I would tell them, we are purveyors of entertainment, we hope.
Marvel Comics Group is the acknowledged leader in monthly sales of all comic magazines published today. As a matter of fact, our sales have tripled in the past 3 years, which is quite a publishing phenomenon.
All of a sudden, with the start of our new superheroes, we got real letters. I like this, I don't like this, you did a great job on this. So I decided we ought to change the name of the company, get something better than Atlas.
The first book they had ever published when I started to work there was called Marvel Mystery Comics. So out of sentiment, I said, let's call the company Marvel Comics.
Funny thing, everything in life really is done. Anything that's the least bit creative, you got to sell it, you know. But the pitch is important. But again, you get the concept first, you get the characters, you design the characters, you come up with individual story ideas, then you go and you pitch it. I treated Marvel halfway as if it was an advertising campaign with expressions like make mine Marvel, Marvel marches on, welcome to the Marvel age of comics, you know, things like that. And I came up with a lot of catchphrases. I would sign all the things that I wrote with "Nuff said" or "Hang loose" or "Face front." I tried to personalize our comic books instead of just the stories. I wanted our readers to be more than just readers. I wanted them to be friends. And after they finish reading a story, I felt I'd like to talk to them for a couple of minutes. I had a column called Stan's Soapbox, where I would just talk to the readers, not even necessarily about comics. Anything that came to mind. I loved having letters pages, letters to the editor, because people would like to read what other kids had to say and like to read our answers. Now, our competition, they would have a letters page, and the letter would say, "Dear Editor, I read your story and I liked it. Signed, Charles Smith." And the answer would be, "Dear Charles, thank you very much, the editor." I thought, oh, that doesn't do anything. So if I would get a letter that said, "Dear Editor, I liked your story, signed Charles Brown," I would answer it, "Hi, Charlie. Hey, thanks for your letter. It's nice to know you're out there." And I'd sign it, "Excelsior Stan." And I tried to keep the tone friendly, as if I'm a guy they know and we're just talking together. And after a while, it became very natural. And after a while, all the letters, "Hey, Stan, I loved your story. Hey, Stan, I hated your story," whatever it was. But it was like they knew me and I knew them. And even on the covers, I tried to